47th, yeah. Hey, folks, we are live. Welcome to SVT time. It's another Tuesday. It's another SVT time. Dom and I were just saying this is episode 47 of SVT time. And what can I say? It's as long as you guys keep on watching, we'll keep on making them. So we want to welcome our very special guest today and fellow New Hampshireite, of course. Mark, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
Doing awesome, man.
So I apologize for the background here. Quick story. About an hour before the broadcast, my local cable company decided, hey, we're going to go out and work on the lines, and I don't have internet. So I'm actually camped out at a Starbucks here in I don't even know where I am, in Londonderry. So I apologize for the background. I'll try and mute when I'm not talking, and we'll go from there. So Dom, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. What are you drinking here at Starbucks?
Just coffee, just black Pikes Peak coffee, And
so adventurous, Dino.
You know,
I was hoping he'd say some frap latte, something complicated.
Something chino,
It's all I can afford. We're all bass players. It's not like we're singer-songwriters where we can afford the cappuccinos.
Yeah, we don't get a contract bump at episode 40 like we thought.
Yeah, right. we thought we were going to be able to renew our contract at episode 40, but they want to see what happens in the next 40 episodes. Anyways, Mark, how you doing, pal? Everything good?
Doing great. I mean, like you, I'm dealing with the snow as well, so hoping the power stays on here.
I was going to say, we've been having rolling power outages and ice storms and all this other fun stuff. Not like you don't have those in Southern California, Dom.
No, we actually, ironically, had a power outage last night, and I can't figure out what it was. I guess the wind blew a little too hard or something,
Someone sneezed.
The sun was shining a little too bright, I think.
I was going to say the ground shook a little too much, maybe.
Yeah. Too close.
So, Mark, just to give you a little bit of background. So Mark and I probably met about a year or so ago, Mark.
Yeah, about a year ago. Yeah.
Just about over a year ago. And it was through a mutual friend of ours who was selling Jimmy Miller, actually. If you've been on TalkBase and been on any of the Ampeg forums on TalkBase, everybody knows Jimmy Miller. He's like a historian. Anyways, Jimmy was selling a Heritage SVT to Mark, and he didn't have a box for it. So Jimmy contacted me asking if I might have an empty box that I could send to Mark. Or no, that I could send to Jimmy, so Jimmy could box it up and then ship it to Mark, and then Mark would send me the box. I'm getting this right so far, right?
Yep.
Okay. So when I asked Jimmy, I says, where's it going to? He goes, well, it's going to Mark Damon from The Pretty Reckless. And at the time, I got to say, I wasn't like really familiar with The Pretty Reckless. And I had never met Mark. I know. Dude,
jeez.
Listen, to be honest, gray hair, anything past Led Zeppelin, I get lost anyway.
Hey, man, I'm right there with you.
So I asked Jimmy, I said, where's it going? And he says, going to Mark at, I said, all right. I says, well, where's Mark live? Because I want to get this box back, because empty boxes are a hot commodity around here, in case you didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
Come to find out, Mark lives in my neck of the woods here in New Hampshire. And so put two and two together. Mark gets the SVT, unboxes it, calls me up. Let's meet. I'll get you your box. We'll get you your box. We'll have coffee and I'll get you your box. And we met for coffee that morning. And it's, I don't know, probably a handful of times, maybe once a month when you're not on the road, we get together and we have coffee at the same place now. So that's how Mark and I actually met, all through a cardboard box.
There's some other stories that involve meeting through a cardboard box that are much worse. So we
won't get into that at all.
I don't think anybody outside the bass community would quite understand that, but I think anybody who's bought an SVT understands that box is pretty
exactly.
And it's funny because he only shipped the head. He was selling a head and an A10 cab, and we're like, "There's no way we're shipping that A10 cab." So he still has the A10 cab. Eventually, I'll pick it up from him when I'm down in Florida, but he's just using it until it's until I can come get it. But the head was the key, man.
Yeah.
And I know Jimmy absolutely loved that head because he had some work done to it too. He had a Hayward transformer put in it. And but things come and go. It's as I tell people, they're just amplifiers.
It's a beautiful head. It's a beautiful amplifier, and it replaced my vintage SVT that I was using in my rack. I did an AB to them, and the Heritage SVT CL was like actually kicked its ass with a Hayward transformer in there.
Really,
it has some mojo, man. It has some mojo.
Yeah.
Now that amp your main amp with the Pretty Reckless now?
Yep.
That's your number one?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. It's my number one, and my backup head is an SVT3 Pro that I've had since 1999. That's never gone down on me, ever.
Yeah.
Never blown up, never had any issues. I replaced the preamp tube maybe twice, just because I thought I should, just to be safe.
Right. Yeah,
it's a workhorse, man.
We'll talk more about your gear too. In fact, Kirk, another buddy of ours, chimed in. He actually private messaged me for some reason, but we want to talk about your signal chain and your live setup too. I know everybody wants to hear about that, but let's talk about your beginnings though. You were born and raised in New England.
Mm-hmm.
Did you come from a musical family? Did you have musical parents, or how did you get into this?
Well, my mother was a singer. I mean, she would sing a lot. She wasn't really professional by any stretch of the imagination, but she had a great voice and she was always singing. My older brother picked up saxophone in high school, I would say junior high, and I kind of idolized what he was doing, wanted to do that. And so he kind of inspired me to pick up an instrument, which ended up being trombone at the time. I started off as a trombone player. And my dad, he says he can't carry a tune if it was strapped to his back. But the funny thing is, he has a great ear for music. He knows what's good. He knows what's shit. He knows quality when he hears it. And he would stick around with guitar for a lot of years. But this Christmas, we ended up getting a drum set. So he wanted to play drums, and he sat down and immediately started playing a beat. So I think maybe he might have been a frustrated drummer all these years and just didn't know.
Wow.
It.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah. It's funny. We all have that one friend that doesn't play an instrument, but knows more about music and musicology and the history. Like, hey, this Sonny Rollins album. Oh yeah, that so-and-so plays it. They know more about music, but that's so awesome.
Yeah, his record collection went from like Anne Murray and Harry Belafonte, Stan Getz records, all the way to Captain Beefheart and Zappa and Zeppelin and the Beatles and everything. So he had a great vinyl collection when I was a kid.
And he had that playing all the time while you guys were home, right?
He also was into like photography, and back when you actually used film, so he had a whole dark room downstairs where he would develop film, and so he had the record player in there, so you hear it kind of emanating from the basement.
Wow,
that's cool. That's really cool.
That's cool. So did you start as a bass player? Or did you start as a horn player?
I started as a horn player. I started as a trombone player. Went to college for trombone. Picked up saxophone end of high school into college. Played in a lot of bands playing horns. And at the beginning of my professional career, I was primarily a trombone player and saxophone player, playing in ska and reggae bands and R&B and blues bands. Just pretty much started out doing that.
Okay.
I picked up bass kind of as on a whim in college because I thought it was cool, and I liked Van Halen. I thought Michael Anthony was kind of awesome. So I just picked up a bass and started teaching myself, and didn't start playing in any bands until, well after college.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, the first bass gig I had, I played in some bands, with friends of mine, but the first professional gig was I was on a gig playing saxophone with a blues band, and another one of our friends had a jam session they held every week the next day, and they didn't have a bass player, and none of their bass player friends were available, and so I'm like, I'll give it a shot. So I went down and I struggled. I got the stink eye from the band leader probably 20,000 times. We're playing a slow blues, and he was this guy Racky Thomas, who was a great singer and harmonica player, was the leader of the band. We're playing a slow blues, and I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. He turns around and goes, play less. I'm like, okay. So I think I'm playing less. About 12, 16 bars later, he looks at me and goes, play less. I'm like, okay. So I play less. And he turns around after he goes, play less, mother. I'm like, and
By the end of the night, you're playing footballs.
Yeah.
immediately to footballs right there. No joke. Wasn't even front. Yeah, I had to go footballs immediately. And then that was a learning experience on the fly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so. Who were some of your early influences back then? I know you mentioned Michael Anthony.
Oh, geez. Early influences.
Bass influences, I should say.
Family Man Barrett was definitely a huge influence. Michael Anthony, obviously.
Yeah.
Lemmy. Jocko, even though I will never, ever, 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 ever come close to playing anything like him.
Yeah.
It's like Duck Dunn. I loved his stuff. Louis Johnson. It's like God. I mean, all the Motels. I mean, obviously James Jamerson has got to be in that mix.
Yeah.
So all the greats who I would aspire to play a fraction as well as they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Well, it's funny because we have those influencers that never show up in our playing whatsoever. But then we have those in, like you said, Jocko, and Jocko was a huge influence to me too. But if you listen to any of my playing, you would never in a million years hear any Jocko, But then we have influences that were just as big of an influence that come out predominantly in our playing, like Geezer Butler. My thing is Geezer Butler and Duck Dunn. That's kind of the cross,
I think I lost you guys. Hold on.
Nope, you're still here.
Yeah, I can hear you. See you.
Yep. Yeah.
I think I lost you, Joyce.
I could. Hey.
You're here for us.
Yeah.
I got you, Dino.
Yep, you got me. And I guess.
1 second.
Okay.
It's a PF 50 or 20 behind him.
It's a PF 50. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. He was looking for one, and for a while actually. That was before the. You there, Mark? Can you hear us? I'm going to put in.
I love this.
And I was the one that was worried about dropping out here.
Yeah.
Technology.
I'm just going to text them here real quick.
There you go.
You there?
We can hear and see you.
Yep, we can hear and see you, but you're muted. So, but why? I'll tell you what. You're muted. I'm going to see if I can unmute him. I can't unmute him. Yeah, their mic isn't connected. Can you see us? Can you see us? He can see us, but he can't hear us.
I got it.
You can see us. I should. I do know some sign language, but
what's crazy is his mic was working perfectly, even when he didn't have us.
Yeah, that's wild. Well, we apologize, folks. We're going to fix this in a minute, but while we're waiting, we've got. I'm just looking at some of the content, some of the comments that are coming in. We've got people from Hungary. We've got people that has seen Mark in Vienna. Man, we get call-ins from all over the place, actually.
Yeah.
So, Mark, you there?
No comments on your Pike Place coffee, though.
No comments.
AirPods, probably.
Somebody actually, Chip said it's the AirPods. I don't know. I figured I'd put Chip's comment in there. Let's see what's going on.
Just tell him to show us all of his gear. He doesn't need to talk. We just want to see what he's playing. No, I'm kidding.
It says your mic isn't connected.
This is the good time to know jokes, and I know none of them.
Do you know any good dad jokes?
Actually, tons of good dad jokes. None that are appropriate.
Hang on a second here. Why am I not? Oh, because I'm in Teams. Wow.
All right, everybody who's on right now and is commenting, while we're trying to get this going, send us your favorite bass part of Mark's, or like song that he plays on that you love. I want to see.
I just sent you a text.
We just need Mark to go to a Starbucks. Everything will work.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it was working fine there for a minute. But Mark, can you hear me? I would try hanging up and then signing back in. Yeah, he can't hear me either. It's definitely got to be the AirPods.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm gonna try hanging up, rejoining.
I don't know if he can see the private chat.
Oh, that's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Write it on a piece of paper.
That's good. Hang on. Do you want to try logging out and logging back in? Interesting.
Triple J, hello. Thanks for the wave and the rock symbol. What's y'all's favorite song that Mark plays on? What's like the favorite bass part? I want to know. And what's your coffee order? That's what we want to know here.
And what's your coffee order?
What's your coffee order?
It's getting kind of warm in here.
Are you able to like kick him off so he has to rejoin?
I don't know. Let me see.
There we go. That's a good sign.
Well, I removed them from the stream.
Maybe Aaron can.
And kick from studio. I'm
afraid he'll never come back.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I'm afraid if I kick him out, he might not come back, and I can't unmute him because it says their mic isn't connected. Yeah. Okay. Shoot.
Can you try just call him on the phone real quick? Maybe you could put him on speaker through yours. But you're at Starbucks, so that's maybe I can put him on speaker. This is amazing. This is like a social experiment.
We're just going to film you and I talking on the phone.
This is awesome.
Oh,
there you go. No,
no.
All right. I think
we're back now.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Talk later, Dino.
Yep. Talk to you later.
Oh, hey, Dino, what's up, man?
Hey, nice seeing you again. Wow,
Good
that's
Lord.
weird. Yeah.
Technology's great until it's not.
Yeah.
Right. Man. So could you hear us the whole time, or
No.
you could, but you could see us?
I can see you. I can see you
But
doing
no.
this, so you have the phone.
Yeah.
Nothing. And then I logged out, logged back in, came right back.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, it's just one of those things, So
It's just an error.
Now what's weird is I have both your streams going here, but I'm not touching anything.
Wow.
Like
Mark
you
in
show up
stereo.
twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
anyways, so what I was telling Dom while we're trying to fix the audio, it's like I was just looking at some of the comments that were coming in. We've got people calling in from Hungary, Vienna. Virgil saw you in Vienna a few months ago. In fact,
Oh, yeah.
So I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I apologize if I'm not, but that was really cool. So
Nice.
we're gonna get back on track here. So you started playing bass. Obviously, we kind of want to come full circle around. We want to get to the Pretty Reckless. So how did that all come about? Like you started playing bass.
Yep.
And then the Pretty Reckless was formed shortly thereafter, or was there a long period?
Okay. There was a while. In fact, for a long time, I was kind of alternating between playing trombone, bass, and saxophone gigs. So sometimes I would show up with one, and people were like, "What are you playing that for?" I'm like, "Well, I play that as well. Whatever pays the bills." And then I joined a band called Famous. A college friend of mine was playing with a guy named Ben Phillips in New York. And he called up saying, "Hey, you still play bass?" I'm like, "Well, no, but still, I'm just kind of learning." And so I went down and learned some of his songs, and ended up starting playing with Ben Phillips and in his solo thing. And then that formed into a band called Famous. We changed drummers, and then later on, we changed drummers again, and we ended up getting my friend Jamie Perkins, who's now the drummer for Pretty Reckless. We played in some bands together in New Hampshire for many years. And that band went for a while. We ended up meeting our producer, Kato Kandwala, and did a record with him. And that turned into Ben and Kato starting like a songwriting production team thing, where they got a call about this young singer who was, very much a rock artist. And would you like to work with her? And so they started, working with Taylor. We're writing some songs together and, kind of doing some productions and have some demos for what would later become the Light Me Up record. She met all of us. She saw the band play. She's like, "You guys are great. This is what I want." And in true, woman fashion, she took over the band. Because it really came down to, like, obviously we were much older than she was, but she's an old soul and her talent is just undeniable. And at first it was very much I don't know, man, like, she's a teenager, movie star, I don't know, TV thing. Must be some Disney bullshit going on, is what my initial thought was. And then I started hearing some of the demos of the songs they were writing. I'm like, "Oh, she sounds great." But in this era of Pro Tools, you can do anything, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very dismissive of it initially. And then we got together to play live, like in a rehearsal place, because she wanted to, kind of get things going. I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to New York to do this. You come to New Hampshire. If you want this, you come up here." And still being very dismissive of the whole thing. I was basically an asshole when it came down to it. So she came up, and Ben came up as well, and we started playing. The first song we started playing was "Light Me Up." Started the groove, and then the verse comes in, and she's singing. I'm like, "Oh man, she sounds just like the demo. She sounds freaking great, even better than the demos." And then we hit the chorus, and her and Ben started harmonizing, and I got goosebumps all up and down. I'm like, "Whoa, what is this?"
Yeah.
And so we finished playing the song, and no one said anything for a couple seconds. So we're kind of looking around each other. I forget who said it, but someone said, "Well, I guess we got a band."
Wow. Yeah. Right.
It was just one of those things where I can admit I was completely wrong. She was fantastic, so real talent.
Yeah.
And even though she was coming from the movie and TV thing, like, she was meant to be a singer. That's what she was born to do.
Yeah.
And I just was lucky enough to be in the line where our paths crossed, and we're able to work together.
Now she was 15 at the time when this
Yes,
all went
very
down?
young, very young.
Wow.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
But you wouldn't know it when she opens her mouth, man. You would not know that. It was crazy.
Right. I mean, it's weird because, obviously the two movies that I know are from, obviously from The Grinch and Spy Kids, but to see her in those movies. In fact, we were just watching Spy Kids 2 with my daughter the other day, and but I've been listening, not obviously because of this was coming up, but since I've met you, I have been listening to a lot of Pretty Reckless, and obviously I follow you guys on social and whatnot, and the voice that you hear on the records certainly doesn't match that girl from those movies. You know what I mean? Nor does the look and the face and everything. So it is. It's got to be. I would imagine it's been kind of an interesting thing seeing her grow into the singer that she is, and the band grow into the band that it is.
It's definitely been an evolution. Starting with her evolution, coming from when she was like 15 when I first met her, to where she is now. It's amazing to watch and to have heard, because she's just grown personally and musically, lyrically. It's just the voice has just matured to this thing, which is just, it's awesome to hear and to be a part of.
That's cool.
And the band as well. I mean, we started out, kind of finding our footing, and with any band, like when you first started playing together, we did have the benefit of the three of us, Ben, Jamie, and I, being in a band before.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been playing with Jamie for quite a long time, since I was a young pup. So we had that connection already for bass and drums. So we kind of brought that into the Pretty Reckless at a certain level already that a lot of bands would have to spend years trying to get to. We started there. So we were able to take it and develop even more to where we are now over the years. And it's just, we'll just be jamming, and we'll end up playing the same riff, the same pattern. We'll end up, not looking at each other. We'll stop at the same spot.
Yeah.
It's just a weird, zone thing. We just look at each other and just start laughing at that.
Is that kind of how you go about the writing process too, between the four of you?
Well, Ben and Taylor write all the songs. It's their babies. We come in and we try to do justice to what's in their heads. Sometimes we're successful, sometimes we're not.
and anything like that,
Exactly. But luckily we speak our own language, and we've kind of developed that over years playing together. So I think we have a way of deciphering the non-musical speak that sometimes happens to describe a musical element. So it's where other people looking outside would go, what the hell are they talking about? I mean, more green. What does that mean? Or more blah, we kind of instinctively know what they mean, and we have a lot of the same musical references that Ben and Taylor are coming from, because we listen to the same records. We have a lot of that. We have a very broad range of what we listen to, so we can take an Oasis vibe, a Soundgarden vibe, a Beatles vibe, a Zeppelin vibe, a Pink Floyd vibe, and bring in what if Max Roach was playing this?
Right.
It's like, okay, that makes sense to me. So it's we can create that.
And you hear, like, I've been listening to the catalog, and generally, like, when I first start getting into a band, I listen to the first album, and because I want to hear the evolution of the band and of the songwriting and the production. And as you listen through your catalog, you can hear those influences start to grow and start to come out through the music. And it really is pretty interesting. I truly am a big fan at this point. I've been. You're on my regular. No, seriously, you're on my regular playlist. You know you've made the Dino Rockstar list when you're on my workout. When you're on my workout music at Planet Fitness.
Nice.
Yeah, so,
sweating with Dino, man. Sweating with Dino.
I don't know if it's sweating with Dino. It's better than drinking with Dino. I'll tell you that.
That's another podcast. Two podcasts.
Exactly.
Do you feel like, is there anything specific from your horn playing days, and I don't know if you still do, but that has translated into bass that give you like an edge or something kind of niche to like what you do?
Well, I think a couple things. I had the benefit of the years I was playing as a horn player, and I do still play horn occasionally when I get the calls. I had the benefit of years of listening to amazing bass players playing behind me. And well, as a horn player, a lot of your time is spent standing around trying to look cool when you're not playing. So I spent that time listening to what the bass player and the drummers were doing. So many local guys in the Boston area and beyond that just gave me an education that I never would have gotten if I was the bass player itself, because I wouldn't have anyone, giving me that information.
Yeah.
So you can listen to records all you want and you get your stuff there, but to actually be on the bandstand with world-class bass players and drummers, hearing them do it, what they're doing a foot and a half behind you, that I don't know many other bass players that get to do that. And I think the other thing that kind of informs my bass player right these days is I was very much a melody player as a horn player. So I can approach the bass as a melody instrument as well as the rhythmic and chordal aspects of it. So I hear lines and I hear melodies, and I hear counter melodies. I write horn arrangements as well for records and have for years. So I hear all the inner voices that maybe you wouldn't necessarily hear if you hadn't had that experience and been able to do that. So I think that sense of melody has been developed over years of being a melodic instrument player, not just a rhythm section player. So.
That is such a cool, interesting point, though, Mark, that you bring up, because as somebody like myself that I've never really played another instrument on stage, I never had that benefit of hearing another bass player behind me and hearing what they're doing. And like you say, I mean, you played with some of the best bass players in Boston, and to hear, like, you get to take in, okay, what is he doing on this part, on top of, like you say, you also, I know, like, if anybody's ever studied with the great Charlie Banakis,
Charlie.
Charlie always came, it didn't matter if you were a bass player or a melody player or piano, he always came from the premise of playing melodies and learning the melodies to things too. So that's the benefit, as a horn player, you learn things in a linear fashion, in a melodic linear fashion, whereas bass players, we tend to fall into patterns, sort of thing, like guitar players will fall into patterns, sort of thing. So that's interesting. You've really had a really interesting kind of background coming into being a bass player now. So you kind of see it full circle. Do you think that helps with your production skills as well? I would imagine it does, but
absolutely. Having that broad vision of be able to stand sonically is in the bass player's chair when you listen to something, and being able to sonically put yourself in the horn player's chair, the melodic instrument, whether it be a voice or a horn or a guitar, hearing it from that aspect has definitely helped. If you're in the broad picture of what's going on. I also think bass players in general, from where we sit in the band next to the hi-hat, listening to the whole band from there, hearing the rhythmic aspects and being the bridge between the rhythm and the melody and the chordal harmony, I think we have a unique understanding of what's going on. I think that's why so many bass players make great musical directors or make great producers, because you're hearing that stuff. You're hearing that bridge, and you're the glue between both of them. So you have to have a foot in one and a foot in the other to do your job correctly.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Interesting. The only problem I've always wanted, like you see, Ricky, oh my gosh, the music director, he's a bass player. Ricky, somebody please help me here. He was the music director for The Late Show.
And now I could see him. I should know that.
I could see his face. Plays Zadowski. Talk about a bass player. So, yeah, I don't know your name. But I don't know your name, but I know you play a Red Sadowski tour.
To an SWR working man's combo with DR strings. All that shit, Gearhead.
But like the funny thing, anytime you see like a guitar player or a bass player that's a music director, I've always like, you always have to struggle with, okay, I need both hands. No, not John Batiste. Whereas like a piano player as a music director, they can sacrifice one hand to direct the band. Whereas on a bass player, it's kind of like, all right,
not only that,
eyes and nods and head
and you typically have to be in on one of everything. Like as a guitarist, you can kind of like chill out, listen to the one, and then like get back in.
Can't stop, man.
Yeah, I know. It's so nerve-wracking. It's like it's very much this,
Is it Ricky Peterson? I don't know. Anyways, hey, let's talk about Ricky Bobby. Thanks, Haji. Yeah. Ricky Bobby. Let's talk.
I love crepes. Yeah.
Paul Schaefer. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, there we go again. We're talking movies. Ricky Bobby. Can we talk about the New York Ska Jazz Ensemble today? Did I get that
Sure.
name right? New York Ska Jazz Ensemble. Because everybody, for people that know you from the Pretty Reckless, it's kind of a 180 from the Pretty Reckless doing a ska jazz thing too. But as like you say, as a bass player, you're pretty well versed in just about any style of music. So let's talk about that. How did that come about?
Well, actually, that was from my trombone playing days. I actually started right from college. I went into the ska world. I started playing with a band from Boston called Bim Scala Bim, a big band from Boston.
Yeah,
I was just a young pup. Did my first, U.S. tour with them and the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, which was mind opening. It's
as a horn player,
as a trombone player, and so from there I met a lot of people in that world. And one of the guys I met was a guy named his nickname was Dancing Randy. His name was Randy Tarto, and his thing was he would show up to ska shows and dance his ass off the entire night, like massive, like ska dancing, swing dancing, like he was just a dancing machine, man. So he knew I left BIM about 2.5 years in because our paths were diverging. They were stopping. They were kind of slowing their touring while I was just starting my careers as a musician and wanted to be touring more. So I left that band, and New York Ska Jazz at the time, their trombone player was about to leave, and Randy knew the band leader for Ska Jazz and hooked me up with Fred Ryder, also known as Rocksteady Freddie.
Okay.
And I went into audition to be a trombone player, and his first words were, "Are you ready to throw down?" And I'm like, "Sure." And he's like, "No, are you ready to throw down?" I'm like, "Okay, I like this. This is a great attitude." And proceeded to kick my ass, running charts for the next hour and a half. And after that, he's like, "Okay, you're the trombone player now." So I think that was like 99 is when I joined them. And I was a trombone player for them for many years. A couple of years I would drop in and out because I had other things going on.
Sure.
But I was primarily the trombone for many years. And then at one point, we had a bass player, the guy Malcolm Gold, who was a great bass player from the New York area. He was playing with Days of the New at the time, kind of the revamped version. And we had a tour scheduled. He was going to be the bass player. And he had the whole thing set where he's going to go home after the tour ended and go do a New Year's Eve gig with Days of the New. Okay. Then our Ska Jazz tour got extended. And Freddie's like, I need a bass player. I'm like, well, I'll buy a bass in Europe and I'll play it. So I ended up playing bass on the end of that tour, and it went well. Yep, and so I kind of became the double threat for that band off and on. And Freddie's one of my dearest friends in the world. Cool. And it's such a great band of just top-notch players from New York and beyond. Yep. We've kind of expanded. They've expanded to they've got a guy from Italy, two guys from Italy, a guy from Spain, kind of a stable of players that can come in and do the gigs. Okay. They've been touring since 1994, consistently worldwide every year, except for pandemic, obviously. Sure. So I had some great players go through it, and I'm just lucky to be able to be one of those players that go through it and to be a big part of it now. It's been great. I've been helping Freddie produce the last couple records. Okay. And helping with some of the business end of things, which has been a lot of fun, kind of a whole new world of scratching the surface of the music industry and how scummy it can be.
I know you and I have discussed that quite a few times.
Oh yeah. So that's what Ska Jazz is. It's very much a players band. It's danceable music, Jamaican ska rhythms and reggae mixed with high end bop and jazz improvisation, modern kind of harmonies, the melding of the two, and it's really kind of a great band because it, no matter what your background is, I mean, the ages from 6 to 60 to 96 love this band. People who love metal love this band. People who love reggae love this band. It's one of those bands that's very accessible because the playing and musicianship is so high level, and it's just one of those bands. If you're watching and if your ass isn't moving, you must be dead.
Yeah, right. I'm just posting it right here.
So it's a lot of fun. It's a great band. That they're on record 15, just came out this last July. Yep.
Okay.
So 15 records. I was lucky enough to co-produce this one with Rocksteady Freddie. I think it's one of the best ones that we've done. A little selfish of me to say that, but yeah, it's also one of those bands that records pretty much live in the studio with minimal overdubs.
Okay.
Wow,
You go in for 3 days. Bring in tunes. We rehearse for 3 days, run the tunes, get them all together. Get where we're going, and then day one. Actually, the record before this last one, we recorded in 2 sessions. This last record we recorded in 1 day.
Wow.
10 tracks.
Wow.
It was like, okay,
incredible.
boom, take 1, take 2, take 3. Which one's better? Take 3. Cool. Take 2.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then minimal overdubs. Maybe some guitar layering, some percussion layering later on, but maybe some background vocals. That's it. So it's a really musical experience.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the essence of the style of music too. It's got to be
Very much.
Yeah, it can't be overplayed to to the point where it's over rehearsed sort of thing or overtaken.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
do you approach your gear differently between New York ska and obviously Pretty Reckless? I know with like New York ska, P bass and flat wound sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, somewhat yes, and largely no, because I still use a P bass with both. As you said, I use the flats with ska jazz primarily. I do use one bass with flats with the Pretty Reckless for Take Me Down, more Motown-ish tunes we do. It's a P bass through an Ampeg. It's that's what it is, and it covers the musical ground I need to cover. I mean, from the rock to the reggae. I mean, I can get the thump of Family Man with a P bass with flats through an SVT or SVT Pro, whatever the backline amp is. I mean, I've said it before. The SVT in it, I can get any sound I need to. I'm covered. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm also the kind of player who can make most any amp work. Work.
Of course.
But primarily, with the sound I want for anything I'm doing, from R&B, the blues, to the ska, the reggae, the rock thing, I'm playing the SVT with a P bass, man.
Yeah.
What was kind of the journey of like you're in that rehearsal and the guy's like play less, from that moment to like the journey of okay, I got this covered. Like I'm kind of a slam and bass player. Like what was how long was that journey in your mind? Like what
was? I mean, I'm one of those guys. I think a lot of us have imposter syndrome, maybe our entire careers. It's been for the first many years. I looked down when I was playing a bass gig. I looked down at myself, going, "The hell am I doing with this in my hand? I'm a horn player. This is bizarre." I distinctly remember. I lost an earpod. Playing my first real showcase at CBGB's for record people, and I remember driving down to CBGB's with my bass and my amplifier in the car, going, "Well, I'm playing for all these record labels at CBGB's, and I'm playing a bass. What am I doing, man?"
Right.
And so coming from there, over the years, the more gigs you play, the more you learn, the more you progress. I think I'm to the point now where I've accepted that I'm a bass player. I'm always trying to learn more. Always amazed by the players that surround me, the players that I hear, both live and on YouTubes and records. It's just some astounding players out there that make you go, "Oh, I'm a child. What is this in my hands?" But I think I approach it more as it's a tool that I use to express myself musically. And now it's become one of those tools. It really is in my quiver that I can use that. Just the same as the trombone or the saxophone or now the bass. And I've developed a confidence that now I can do the job it needs to be done within reason. I mean, I'm not going to do the Marcus Miller thing anywhere near close to what people out there can do. So knowing my limitations and trying to expand those limitations constantly, it's part of the journey. So I don't think the journey ever ends. All right, it certainly hasn't for me. And I think if it does end, that you're kind of selling yourself and your instrument and the music short.
Yeah, I agree. Did you have other, like, sitting there listening to other bass players as a horn player? Did you kind of already have the, you know, P bass and Ampeg combo as like your fave, or did that come over time of like trying a bunch of different setups? And
That developed over time. Yeah. When I first, my first bass amplifier, well, besides my practice amp, was a Trace Elliott BLX combo, little, you know, combo amp.
Yeah.
It had a lot of, you know, a lot of bite to it, and but had very Trace Elliott sound, and that didn't really work for me. It wasn't what I was hearing.
Yeah.
And I tried SWR, I tried GK over the years, and then I kept, you know, bass players I knew and respected kept showing up with SVTs, SV3 Pros. It's like, oh, what's this? And hearing those bass players, and also a lot of the backline we were using on festivals,
Yeah.
you'd show up, you see 810 and SVT, and you hear a bass player through that who's a, you know, world-class bass player, and you're standing right in front of their amp and going, oh my God, this sounds amazing. That's what I want to sound like.
Yeah.
And nine times out of 10, it was an SVT or, you know, some sort of Ampeg. You see a logo there. It's like, okay, that's the sound. So from the BLX combo, I went to a 410 Trace Elliott combo because that's what I could afford at the time.
Mhm.
And someone was selling it used. And then a friend of mine, actually a bass player from the Boston area, a guy named Brian Karp, who for a minute played in Letters to Cleo back in the day.
Okay.
We became friends. We were playing in some blues bands together. And he said, hey, I just saw a SVT3 Pro on sale at Guitar Center. It seems to be in pretty good shape. I know you're looking for a real amp. You want to go check it out. So went and picked it up, and that's the one I still have.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And I mean, as soon as I plugged into that with a, you know, 410, I'm like, oh, there's the sound I've been looking for. Great.
Yeah.
That was exactly my first full amp heads, you know, separate from like just having a combo, was 3 Pro through 410, same thing. I was like, oh, this is what it is. Got it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I still ask for that setup. When we do the Ska Jazz tours, I still ask for that setup for our backline, for a rented backline. Unless the festival has an 810, but if I'm schlepping it myself, 410.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And that's,
Smart.
I mean, that you know, that is probably the most bulletproof amp that, you know, between that and the 4 Pro, obviously SVTs, but SVTs had a lot of glass in them, you know, whereas
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
the 3 Pro's been around going on 25 years.
It's an
The
iconic
3 Pro.
design, man.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
it was the SVT3 prior to that. Just the
Mhm.
Roman numeral 3. So interesting. Let's talk about your gear, because so you've kind of taken your social posts to another level of making them fun again. Not that, but you know what I mean? Like, so Dom, in case you weren't aware, Mark would do, and you still do, you still have Bass Face Saturday, where every Saturday I know I can look on Instagram and I know I'm going to see my buddy Mark with a new bass face from, and everybody comments on that. But you were also doing another post where you were talking about your gear, everything from your straps to your picks to your strings to your rigs. So I know Kirk Burkhardt had asked if we could talk about your signal chain. So let's start with, you're primarily a 4-string P bass. I call it an FSO, fender shaped object.
Yep.
Some of them aren't always fenders. You have a couple of signature 4 strings that we can talk about too.
Yep.
So let's start with your basses.
Let's see. As you said, most of my basses that I use are based upon the Leo Fender design, because he got it right, man. I really love what he did and what he created. And so most of them are the P bass, world. Presently, I'm using a really great custom bass built by 52 Customs. My friend Ralph Napolitano out of the New Hampshire area. He makes all custom guitars and basses. And he built this really amazing bass. Actually, I think I have it back here. And this is my baby. And it's just basically the body of a 52-ish with a little bit of a cutaway in the back, because I'm old and I don't want to cut my stomach up.
You don't want those bruise marks on your rib cage at the end of the night.
Yeah. My DiMarzio 60s P pickups in this thing, and just a neck that's is just silky smooth. As soon as I picked this up and felt the neck, I was like, Ralph, you did some magic to this one, man. It's a real light body, so it's really resonant. It's got hip shot detuner on there, hip shot hardware, just rock solid. It's you're not reinventing the wheel, but it's a perfection of the wheel. I mean, it really is all you need. Is 4 strings, P bass, and a great neck. And Ralph really knocked it out of the park. And I find myself using this more and more. In fact, it's my primary one on the gig with the Pretty Reckless. And then my other ones are have a Fender American Pro P bass that I use for some other tunes. Has a little different setup. DiMarzio's in there. I'm using another great custom builder out of Texas. Rob Bridges makes these basses called Brimstone basses. Unfortunately, that one's in the case right now in storage, so I can't pull it out. But that one is a beast. It's just a monster. It just has great attack, great sustain. He does this cool thing where he makes a big brass block underneath the bridge to increase sustain. And the punch, it'll take your head off. It's awesome, especially for the drop tuned.
I was going to say that's like the old Alembic trick, where the old, the Alembic series, they used to put this 10-pound brass block underneath the bridge.
Yeah, so it's a beast. It's a heavy beast, but it's got a great tone. And aside from that, I mean, in the studio, I have my 66 Precision, which is my baby, but that doesn't leave the house except for very, very special gigs that it's always with me for. I'm rocking I have a fretless, obviously. I have my 78 Jazz, which I was using for many years, that I love. I need that jazz sound on the track. I have the Yamaha BB 4-string. For the modern sounds.
Cool.
Nice.
Which is some great tones out of that one. And obviously I got to have a hollow body out in the studio.
Sure.
So this is one of the Eastwood Classic 4. It's a nice solid sound. Yeah. But for the Pretty Reckless gig, I have like one more Sunburst P out there, which is strung with flats always.
Okay.
For more the Motown kind of sounds.
Do you
change for basses?
I was going to say, do you change basses on the Pretty Reckless gig for tunings or for tone differences or?
For tones, yeah. I mean, very much. Ben and Taylor are very specific about the sounds that are on the records and that come out on us live. So I've had to very much try to just develop an arsenal that covers all those various tones from the records in a way that's not only gets the sounds but allows for a flow of the show. So I'm not switching basses every song. So it's or carrying 20 basses at that point. So I've really narrowed it down to about 5 basses that I bring out with me that cover pretty much everything I need, with variations in where I'm picking and whether I'm doing finger or pick or tone knob rolling off or that kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Now, from those in your live setup, those go into the Heritage CL? Obviously, I know you go to a pedal board too. So
yes, what happens is I go through my pedal board, and right out of the pedal board tuner, it goes to an RNDI, one of those Rupert Neves RNDIs, which goes right to the house.
No
clean,
effects, no nothing.
No effects, no compression, nothing. And then from there, it goes through into a compressor, a Wizard compressor, which is a great little compressor pedal based on the 1176, through my effects, out to my Heritage. Now, my Heritage goes out to two cabinets. One is a Ampeg Heritage 410, and the other is 2 Wizard 210s that are coupled together. That's where I get my speaker sound. The third signal I get is the direct out of the speaker output of the Heritage into another Rupert Neve RNDI, and that goes to the house. So I get the amplifier affected DI sound as well. So you can mix those 3 sounds together, the direct sound, the speaker sound, and the speaker and the amplifier out sound to make this massive, tone, hopefully. Which luckily we've got some great front of house engineers. Specifically, Boz Porter has been our front of house engineer for the last year. He was with he'd done time with Pantera and with Jason Bonham, everybody, Machine Head, and he knows how to get a great bass sound, and he's really I hug him every time I see him.
Sure. Just the fact that he gives you 3 channels on the board.
I was just going to say that alone.
I know, dude. I know.
That's incredible.
And we spent more than 10 seconds doing our sound check, which is great.
That's amazing.
We could go on and on. I know we've had that conversation too. Where,
we have.
You show up with a $700 DI and you show it to the front of house, and he kind of goes, yeah, we'll use mine.
Yeah.
And he pulls out like a $20 passive DI. But hey, if that's what you know, that's what you know. But
It's just the beer that's been spilled on it really helps the sound.
Yeah. Yeah.
oh gosh, I'll tell you. Yeah. Yeah. So
There's one tour that I showed up mid-tour and they took away my amp and I was like, huh, where'd my amp go? They're just like, yeah, you're not going to use the amp the rest of the tour. And I was like, cool. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's tough. Luckily, we haven't gone to that realm of
Yeah.
ampless, clean stage. I mean, I applaud the guys who can do it, but I don't know. It's something about having that air
Yeah.
behind me. I need to have that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even on in-ears, it's, I mean, I run in-ears. I know you run in-ears. Dom does,
Yep.
but you got to have an amp behind you.
Yeah. I still
You got to have
do
something kind of kicking you in the butt a little
We
bit.
were talking about that backbeat
Sorry,
thing that I was using for a little while.
That's right.
Yeah, it's really cool. They've come out with a new design. I'm still waiting for it to come, but that adds like that little element of the
Yeah.
amplifier behind you, even if you don't have it. You can get the nuance of the speaker and the air through just
Yeah.
the backbeat, kind of the
Yeah.
interface.
Do you think? Have you guys ever done a clean stage, or do you think you will ever go to a clean stage? Because one thing that we had talked about. So, and Dom, I don't know if you were aware of this or not, but so you guys did a huge U.S. tour, and then you did a huge European tour, and you took every piece of gear over to Europe with you, which most
My
bands are like,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
a huge endeavor. So
that was awesome, and I'm glad we did it. I'm very grateful to the people who paid the bill to bring that stuff over. It was truly amazing to be able to play in your own amps overseas, because that never happens.
Wow.
And I don't think it'll ever happen again.
yeah,
But it was the way costs have skyrocketed these days for touring, from gear transport to diesel to everything, everything, lodging. I think that was probably a one and done. Even now, I don't think the price is ever going to come down to allow that to happen to anyone beyond like the highest, biggest names in the industry.
Yeah.
But even like, and I won't get into specifics, but I know like even the biggest names in the industry, they're, they've gone from, I'm just throwing numbers out there, 20 semis down to 5 semis by downsizing their gear, because it's an economical thing. It doesn't, it's expensive to transport all that stuff. But
It really is.
When you told me you were bringing all your stuff over to Europe, I was like, there's probably one other band that I work with, the War on Drugs. And they brought all their stuff over to Europe, and then they brought all their stuff over to Australia too. So yeah.
Ouch.
So I was just curious, like it just seems like more and more touring acts are going to clean stages.
Yeah.
Either they hire a set designer because they want more of a theatrical appearance on stage, and there's a lot of other things going on. Like, we saw Pink on her last tour, and Eva said everything's underneath the stage because Pink is doing all these amazing do you think you'd be doing any aerobatics? You'd be
No.
save that for Taylor.
The thing about our band is that to us, I mean, we're not a huge production band. To us, the production is the band.
It's a rock
we're
band.
We're very old school in that sense, that it's 4 people on stage, drums, amps, and guitars, basses, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
So we're not doing massive sets or aerobatics or anything like that. It's about the music, and I think we're all of the same mentality, that a lot of times, and not every time, but a lot of times, the extra stuff on stage can be distracting to what's actually supposed to be the focus, which is the music in my book.
Sure.
Maybe that's because I'm old, but I like seeing a band play and knowing what they're playing, and seeing the amps they're playing, and knowing it's real, knowing it's live, knowing it's happening, like knowing that I'm experiencing something in real time that will never be repeated exactly the same ever.
Right.
Yep. No, that's
And I love being part of that.
Yeah. And as kind of a gear guy too, it's like we always, I love going to concerts and just seeing gear and what people are
yeah.
using.
Mhm.
You know, case in point, anytime, you know, if you've seen like big guitar hero of mine is Joe Perry. You've seen Joe on the last couple of tours. He's got every make, brand, and model of guitar amp behind him, all just kind of haphazardly stacked
Yeah.
up on top of one. You
Yeah,
kind of like,
yeah.
oh yeah, Supro, and so
It's
that's
cool.
part of yeah, it's part
Gear
of the
is
show,
cool.
man. Gear is
Yeah.
cool, absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
I got to was fortunate enough to see Sting on his last Vegas residency, and he actually, the beginning of the show, it's like completely curtained up, but in the front, spotlight on, just his bass, and anybody had access to just walk up and like take pictures beforehand. I thought that was like the coolest flex ever. It's just
Right?
like, here's
Yeah,
my
man.
bass, check it out, get real close, like it's almost like a museum piece, you know?
It's an iconic bass too, man. That's
Yeah,
a
it is.
beautiful
Yeah, it's
one.
not just it was really cool.
So
We got a
hey,
cool comment and question from Torque the Rich that I wanted to make. Yeah,
oh yeah.
thought that was cool. To,
Always curious as to how different bassists write their parts to a song. I do better with the rest of the group. With me, most of the time, really, I'll sit by myself and write. So
It really depends on the song you're writing and the situation you're in. If you're sitting with a band, a lot of times you'll kind of listen to where the melody's happening, listen to the style, listen, does it need a driving thing? Does it need a melodic thing? Does it need a mixture of those things? How much of a mixture? How can I make a counter melody to the vocal that doesn't get in the way of the vocal, which is vital. You cannot step on the vocal. That's just rule number one.
Yeah.
And as a bass player, you have to bridge between the harmony and the rhythm and that melody. So a lot of times, that's how I'll listen. I'll listen first before I play note one. I'll sit there with my bass in my hands, not playing a note, listening to the guitar player, the singer sing, and maybe the drummer throw a little beat in there. And I'll just have the ears wide open to what's going on. And then after I hear it maybe once or even twice, I'll start developing something that I think fits. And then from there, it can be a collaborative effort. If you have people who are, who are very specific about what they want, or if you're in a situation where they want you to create, and they maybe go, maybe not that, or they'll go like a little less this, or sometimes they won't give you a direction at all, and you're completely flying blind, and you got to hope that what you're doing is something they like. And then there's the elements of when you're in the studio, whether it's someone sends you a track, you have to do the same process. And a lot of times, if I'm doing a studio track in my own home studio, I'll give someone three options. I'll give them the main option that I think fits for the song and works for the best. I'll give them a dumbed down, more simplistic elements version, and then I'll give them an element which would usually get me fired on a gig.
Yeah,
of course.
Love it.
So and then from there, they can splice in things. Exactly.
Yeah.
And there, that kind of gives them the opportunity to either sub in, more of the some basic elements or some of the more ridiculous elements, and kind of mix the three if they so choose.
Yeah.
It's funny because if you read like any interviews with Paul McCartney, he was famous for saying, I got to put the bass last because I want to hear the whole arrangement. I want to hear what the vocals are doing. I want to hear what everybody's doing so that I can interweave my part in there.
Very much so.
I mean, how many times I've done it, I'm sure you've done it, Dom's done it, where, you get hired to do a session, somebody sends you the tracks, and it's a scratch drum track with a scratch guitar track and some changes. And it's like, hey, can you put a bass part to this? It's like, well, yeah, I can, but
I'm putting it too.
Yeah, exactly. I want to hear harmony. I want to hear melody. I want to hear other things too.
And that actually kind of comes back to some of my upbringing. Like when I was writing horn charts, people would send me a tune, and usually it was a finished tune, and I would hear where the horns made sense, where the track implied the horns should be here. This is what they should do, and almost like decipher the code. Look into the matrix to see what would fit in. So from the years spent writing horn arrangements for songs, it's kind of parlayed into how I do bass.
Sure.
I hear what does the track, where's the track leading it? What makes sense? What's implied? What does this melody imply? What does this rhythm imply?
Yeah.
How do I fit into all that? How would I write a horn arrangement / bass arrangement to this song?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And again, coming from your background as a multi-instrumentalist and not just a bass player too.
Yeah.
Not just a bass player, but you know what I mean. So, Cool. Hey, listen, I know we're running short on time here, but before we go further, and Dom, you weren't here for this last. This is something new that I was doing, and Mark, I know I'm kind of surprising you on this, and I didn't put it in the pre-interview, but
Oh
I think
man,
it's all pretty. It's all
He's off
pretty
script.
safe.
He's off script.
No. So this
look at the
is
time.
so this is I call it Dino's 10 rapid fire.
Ooh.
So I'm going to ask you 10 questions, and you got to
Wait, hold on. Are you a Green Bay fan?
I am.
Same.
Nice. I knew I liked you, Dom.
Dom, I never knew you were a Green Bay fan.
Yeah, I know it doesn't make sense. I'm from Ohio. It's fine.
New Hampshire. So
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to ask you 10 quick questions, and you got to tell me what, and they're all base related. Most of them are base related. Some of them are you'll get it. So let me know when you're ready. I'll let you get in your zone here.
all right, cool.
Okay, so here we go. Question number 1: P bass or jazz bass?
P bass.
Number 2: passive or active?
Passive.
Number 3: B15, SVT, or Pro Series?
All.
D.
D. Number 4: cable or wireless?
Ooh, I just switched to wireless and I kind of love it. I'll go wireless.
Okay. Number 5: pick or fingers? And I know this is subjective.
Both.
Okay. Number 6: IEMs or floor wedges?
I love wedges, but IEMs make life so much easier.
Okay.
IEMs, but I hate them, but I love them.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Exactly. As Andy Sachon says, he calls them tone condoms, but that's for another discussion.
Yep.
Number 7: pedals or no pedals?
I love my toys. Pedals.
Okay. Number 8: window or aisle?
Oh, aisle.
Okay. Number 9: high bunk or low bunk?
Low bunk.
Okay. And number 10: black with white piping or vintage AV cosmetics?
Vintage. Go vintage.
Okay. All right, fair enough. So
That's great. I would have given him 100%.
I was going to say, yeah, you scored 100%. There's no wrong answers, obviously.
Are there?
No. Although high bunk or low bunk, maybe, but
I want less distance to fall if I fall out of my bunk.
exactly. But then again, you got two people above you.
Actually, we do condos, so I only get one person.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Lucky. Very lucky.
So what's next for you, Mark? You guys just came off a pretty massive tour, off a really successful album. I'm assuming, and I'm talking in terms of Pretty Reckless, but Mark Damon, the bass player. What's next for you? What's in store?
Well, I know that Pretty Reckless has some flyout dates coming up, in February and in April, and whatnot, for the foreseeable future. So we'll play some live shows. I'm not sure. We kind of had an interesting situation where we put out a record during pandemic, and then
Oh no.
Did he freeze on you too?
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
He gone.
Oh no.
See Mark Pacifica on here. I'm bummed I missed his rapid fire.
Mark. I'm back on the phone again. Wow, this is weird. He just completely froze up this time. At least let me see if I remove him. Maybe add him. I'm going to show this for now. Thank you, Haji, for putting that up. There's motion at my phone just in case. Mark's at my house saying,
Turn it on.
Let's see if he dials back in. He probably said, you know what, 309, guys, I'm done. I'm done. Those 10 questions were so stupid. I'm out of here. Yeah. Let's see if he comes back on. But anyways, so what's next for you, Don?
Well, I'm just waiting to know what Mark's gonna do.
He just texted me, Comcast sucks. Hence the reason why I'm sitting at a Starbucks right now.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Well, so what happened was they sent out a notice last night saying there's going to be rolling blackouts because they're working on the lines. Well, they texted people, but because my wife is on the account, she got the text, not me. Yeah. And when I texted her this morning, she was like, "Oh, I forgot to tell you. Yeah, there's not going to be." I think he's coming back here. So
there he is.
He might still be frozen. Are you frozen?
No, he's there. It just looks like he's on the moon or something. It's like 8-bit graphics.
Yeah.
No.
Carbonite tough, Mark. Hold on. Let me see if I can get him here. He just logged off again. Yeah.
I saw a post the other day that said, "What if all of the Indiana Jones are just Han Solo's carbonite dreams?" He's just stuck in carbonite. So sad. But I laughed. But that's a meta nerd joke for sure.
That would be wild.
I'm here.
I can hear you guys. He's kind of back.
Oh, you're kind of back.
You're all pixelated.
No. It's dial-up mode.
Mark, can you hear us? Give us a thumbs up. Nope. All right. I'm just going to text him here. Or actually, let me call him.
At least we got his quick fire comments.
We get the quick fire in. I'm calling him. When in doubt, just pick up the phone. Good. It's all good. For those of you watching, I'm on the phone with Mark right now. But we're pretty much done. I don't know if you want to try and log back in real quick.
Put him on speaker. Ask him what he's doing.
Yeah.
What he's
doing
saying
next. Put you on speaker. Yeah, I think you did. You know what? They're probably rolling in your area too. So, all right. Well, listen, we're live right now. I'll wrap it up, but I just wanted to say thank you. And let's have coffee soon.
Thanks, Mark.
Dom said, thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure talking with you. So, all right, brother. Thank you. I'll talk to you. Bye.
Other Mark, I would love to do quick fire, but all of my answers would literally be exactly what Mark Damon said. He was spot on with what I was going to say too.
Well, I have to say, so for those of you that are just joining, obviously we're having troubles with internet here in the Northeast between snowstorms and people working online. So Mark said, thank you for having them, the whole fun stuff. But yeah, we will have him back on at some point too, because it's just, we had coffee the other morning, and literally I walked out of the coffee shop because he literally lives probably 20 minutes away from me. We walked out of the coffee shop. I looked at my clock. It was like we were there for almost 3 hours.
Wow.
Just jabbering about gear and just, so anyways, we'll definitely get him back on here. I want to thank everybody for chiming in too, and all your questions and comments.
Thanks,
Aaron,
everyone.
thank you for setting this up again, and Haji in the background answering all these questions and putting links up and everything. And yeah, as far as the quick fire, Dom, just so you know, those questions were based on what I would be asking you and knowing what your answers were too.
Nice. Yep. You know me well.
Absolutely. So anyways, thanks everyone for chiming in. We have another 2 weeks. I don't know. We don't have anybody signed up for the next SVT time, but I will get somebody I have some ideas of who I'm going to ask to join us. So I've been kind of slacking in that department, trying to get people lined up in advance. So I apologize, but it'll be at episode 48.
48.
What are we going to do for our 50th?
I was gonna say we gotta get cake or something. I don't know.
Exactly. A cake with a lot of candles on it.
Yeah.
Listen, dude, thank you for helping. Thanks for joining in. And
Absolutely.
I think we have a meeting later on this afternoon.
I'm sure I'm sure we're late for one right now.
Yeah, right. All right, guys.
Thanks, Dino.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
I'll see you. See you
See ya.
guys.